Hey everybody, this is Sean Riley with Riley Real Estate and MassHomesale.com with this week's Q&A Saturday video. This week I'm going to talk about when you need to get flood insurance. So the National Flood Insurance Program is a program that was created by Congress in the 60s to work with property owners who were victims of floods, because flood is not something that's generally going to be covered in a homeowner's insurance policy. Fast forward decades, where we are now, it is a program that is administered by FEMA, and the rates are established based on the risk of any given property. That is mostly determined by the location. FEMA draws what are called flood maps, and there's different flood zones, and if you are in a floodplain that's considered high risk, then you would have a high risk policy. You would have fairly high rates, and in many situations it would be required to have the insurance. There's some controversy over the past several years. Flood, as I said, flood insurance has been around since the 60s, but only in recent years has it become a real big issue, because it was, government program subsidized by the government. And like everything the government establishes and doesn't have any way to pay for, at some point it cost much more money than it was bringing in, and they did revamp it to some extent, lowering and phasing out government subsidies, which made the insurance far more expensive. And FEMA redrew a lot of the maps recently, which increased the places that were considered high risk. So places that were previously not even in a flood zone might now be considered high-risk properties, and many properties that were in low to moderate risk are now considered high-risk areas. So potential insurance is much more expensive in those places now. But that's just, that is what it is. Can't do anything about it. There were some very dramatic increases in insurance right after they started redoing some of this stuff. So they did do some not retroactive, maybe they're retroactive, but some new policies that changed the implementation of some of the new policies to lessen the blow to property owners. But in theory, everything, it will eventually phase out, and there will be some pretty dramatic increases in the cost of insurance. So even a few years ago, while flood insurance was something that came up, it wasn't a huge concern. People want to know about it, but it wasn't something that was like a killer. Now, a lot of times, it is actually very difficult to sell a property if you are in a high-risk flood insurance area and you need to have a lot of coverage. Again, that is what it is. You can't do anything about it because it's the government and it's mandatory. Gotta love mandatory government stuff. So when do you actually need to have flood insurance? So if you have a mortgage through pretty much any kind of bank, what it technically says is any bank that is that falls under government regulation. So any type of government-backed loan, obviously, FHA, VA, USDA type loan, you're going to have to get it. But then pretty much any other loan made by a bank that's going to go through Freddie and Fannie, Genie, any of those things. And frankly, even if there was a small sliver of banks that weren't required to require you to have the insurance, they are going to require you to have the insurance because they want to protect their collateral, and you pay for it, so they don't care. So basically, if you have a mortgage and you are in a high-risk flood area, that's why when they redid the maps and a lot more places ended up in high-risk areas, that was a big deal. If you're in a high-risk area and have a mortgage, you have to have flood insurance. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. If you have a mortgage through a private lender of some sort, non-professional private lender, you might not have to have one. If you have someone who's not a bank but is a professional money lender, for example, if you're an investor and you get a hard money loan, most of the time they're probably going to require you to have the flood insurance if you would have had to have gotten it through a bank, because again, they're professional lenders and they want to protect their collateral, and you pay for it, so they don't care. really the only typical way you would not have flood insurance is if you have a paid off property. So if there's no mortgage on it, it is up to you if you want to get it or not. You can buy it if you want. You don't have to buy it. You can also get flood insurance if you are in what is not considered a high risk area. Is just generally not required. A lot of people, if they pay off their mortgage and they have very expensive flood insurance and have not ever used it, will sometimes cancel it, and they will just self-insure, as in they'll just pay for any problems that come up. Hopefully people think about home maintenance and repairs and such and have money put aside. If you have had a property for a while and have never experienced any flood problems, you might not put away money specifically for that, but you plan on paying for any flood damage that might come up through the money that you save in general. Hopefully if you do that, will work. Personally, I have a property. It's a condo, so it's not too bad because the condo association has flood insurance, but I am required to have flood insurance for my individual unit since it's small and it's a secondary coverage. It's only for the interior of the unit. It's not that expensive, though it has gotten a lot more expensive the past couple of years. But I've owned it for quite a while, never had any flooding issues. And prior to me purchasing it, there actually was, this is in Lowell, Massachusetts. People are familiar with the area. They know many years ago, probably about a decade or so now, there was some extreme 100-year type flooding in the area, and there was quite a few properties that did experience a lot of flood issues. However, this place did not. So even during what's known as a 100-year flood event, this place didn't have any flooding. So once we pay off the mortgage, we are very likely to not keep the flood insurance. So that's my personal flood insurance story for a property I own. So that's the basics. If you have any kind of bank mortgage and you're in a high risk flood zone, you're going to be required to have flood insurance. If you have a private lender of some sort, you might not have to get it, but you still might have to. If you have it paid off, then it's your choice. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave a comment. And if there is a topic you would like to see addressed in a future video, you can leave a comment here. You can fill out a form on the website. You can put something on our Facebook page, send it to Twitter, or send an email to info@masshomesale.com. And hope everybody has a good week, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.